few questions that I can certainly field and answer. But we also have a current final year student on board as well, who can also give you the student perspective as well. So Mark is one of the very good guys. I've taught him a number of times, and he's certainly been more than helpful to answer any student-related questions. So just to give you a bit of background about Queen's University. So Queen's University is a member of the Russell Group Research Intensive Universities. So it's one of the top 24 research intensive universities. It's ranked within the top 200 universities via the Times ranking system. It's ranked in the top 140 in the world for graduate prospects. Our students are highly employable and highly in demand. And Belfast, where the university is based, has one of the lowest student rents in the UK. So it's a very student-friendly university and student city as well. Belfast is actually very small in cityscapes, so it's actually quite manageable to walk from within the city centre, but also it's very cheap to live in. Queen's invests in its staff and its students and its infrastructure. They have invested almost 700 million in infrastructure in the last 10 years. So they've built a world-class library. They're actually building an addition to the management school where the actual science risk management degree is based. And it's also invested in its IT infrastructure. And because we're talking now over the internet, it's also invested in its teaching facilities as well to enable online delivery as well, given the current environment that we're living in. So to give you a bit of background on me. So my name is Neil McConville. I am a fellow of the Institute and Faculty of Actuaries. So I'm also the program director of the Actuarial Science and Risk Management degree. Program director is effectively the persons in charge of the degree. So bit of background for me, I'm actually a graduate of Queen's. I did the finance degree in Queen's, so it's again based within the management school, and in actual fact, there's a lot of overlap between some of the material that the actuarial science and the finance students undertake. I'm a former pensions actuary and scheme actuary certificate holder with over 18 years in industry experience. Prior to joining Queen's, I was an actuary. I was working as an actuary. I'm a pensions actuary by training. I specialised and became a scheme actuary. So scheme actuary means I've done all the fellowship exams and additional exams that enable me to be a signing actuary. I qualified as a fellow of the Institute and Faculty of Actuaries in 2010. Initially started my career in Dublin. So I worked for a company called Aon, which is now part of Aon. And after 4 years in Dublin, I moved to Belfast to work for Mercer, which is a global consultancy, and a more local company, Carr Henderson. And then in 2013, I decided rather than work as an actuary, I opted to train actuaries. So I moved to Queen's. One of the key things of working in Queen's enables me to maintain my knowledge. So I work as a part-time consultant in the Belfast and Dublin actuarial markets. So to give you a bit of an idea, so what is an actuary? We get this question a number of times. So an actuary is someone who uses someone who uses maths to solve business problems. You could say that of anybody, any financial service professional, anybody who works in business, use some form of maths to solve business problems. It doesn't really pick up who we are. Our actuaries, people who apply financial and statistical theories to solve real business problems, we're getting a bit closer, but it's not necessarily. Statisticians, economists still use financial and statistical theories to solve real business problems. The last box is the one that I think kind of gets us most. An actuary is a business professional who deals with the financial impact of risk and uncertainty. That's what actuaries do. We deal with risk and uncertainty. We put a price or quantify risk. So we turn probabilities and likelihoods into a price, and that's ultimately what we do. So we are risk experts. So what do actuaries actually do? So I've said already that we're employed to quantify financial risk. So by quantify, I mean put a price. So how do we do this? We review past experience. We build models to experience this using statistical principles. We project the models forward to the future. We then estimate timings and amount of future cash flows, and we put a price or present value on expected future cash flows. And we advise our clients how to fund or mitigate those risks. So let me give you an example. I'm a pensions actuary by training. So we would have, say for example, a 45-year-old joins a pension scheme. That 45-year-old is going to work until they're age 65, and then on average we expect that person to live to about 85. So that is a 40-year window. They're going to save for 20 years and they're going to live in retirement for 20 years. So we would work out how much pension is going to be paid when they attain age 65. We're going to work out how frequently they're paid, so is it paid monthly? And we're going to work out on average how do we expect it to be paid for. And then what we say is, right, if we bring it back to today's money, how much do you need to start saving or setting aside today to fund that pension? So that's our present value. So we are extremely comfortable working with numbers. You will, hopefully from today's presentation, you will understand that actuaries are comfortable working with numbers. We work in risk and likelihood so that we quantify those principles. So actuaries work in many fields. We work in pensions, investments, life assurance, general assurance, and reinsurance industries. So some of you may have heard these terms, some of you may not. Pensions are what you receive in retirement. So you work for 40 years, and then you retire at age 65 or whatever, and you live in retirement. So it's an income in retirement. Actuaries also work in investments because pension schemes are the largest institutional investor. So pension practices have developed investment practices as well to manage those monies. We also work in life insurance. So life insurance is protecting a person. So you may be worried about early death. So you may insure your life that your therefore there's a paid for your family to live thereafter. Or we also have general insurance. General insurance is like insuring a thing. So you're insuring your house, your car, your mobile phone. It protects a thing. So life insurance protects a life, general insurance protects a thing. Reinsurance is slightly different. Reinsurance is effectively insurance for the insurance industry. So you think about areas that are susceptible to hurricanes. A lot of insurance companies are exposed to damage to property, to land, and to things. So insurance companies will share that risk around other insurance companies, and that's what reinsurance is. It's insurance for insurance industries. Actuaries have also moved on to work in risk management, banking, public sector agencies as well. So I even though I'm a pensions actuary by training, I have interests in risk management and the application of life insurance and pensions. So there's a lot of overlap between some of our industries as well. So where do actuaries work? So in the locality and around Belfast, our actuaries work in any major city in Ireland and the UK. So anywhere there's a major, reasonable sized city, there's actuaries based. So in the UK, the majority of actuaries are based in London. So there could be actuaries work in London. Actuaries also work in other major cities. So we're talking Liverpool, Leeds, Manchester, Birmingham, Glasgow, Edinburgh. There's also actuaries in Belfast, in the island of Ireland. There's actuaries in Belfast, Dublin, Navan, Galway, Cork, and up in Letterkenny in Donegal. So anywhere that there's a reasonable financial centre, actuaries will be based. One of the key things about the actuarial qualification is that there's two gold standard actuarial qualifications. There's the Institute and Faculty of Actuaries, which our actuarial degree is accredited with, or the Society of Actuaries in the US. They are the two global gold standard actuarial qualifications. So what I mean is, if you become a fellow of the Institute and Faculty of Actuaries, you can effectively work anywhere in the world. You literally you can qualify as a fellow in the UK, and you can work in Hong Kong, Singapore, Australia, America, wherever. You literally sign a form, pay a fee, and you can start practicing as an actuary there. The reason I say that, there's other qualifications that sometimes you have to take additional exams even just to travel outside that country. So for example, there's accounting qualifications that are Ireland based, and for you to work in the UK or anywhere else, you have to take additional exams. Being a fellow of the Institute and Faculty of Actuaries is a gold standard qualification. So what about the actuarial degree? So I'm going to give you a bit of background about that actuarial degree. So it's a fairly new degree. It only commenced in September 2007. So our first cohort of students graduated in 2011. It is a 4-year degree. There's 3 years teaching, your first, second, and fourth year. And then there's 1 year where you go on placement. And Mark may be able to talk a wee bit about placements as he's just returned from this. It's a broad-based, intellectually demanding degree, which includes a lot of maths. There's lots of maths in this degree. It's not a mathematics degree, it's a mathematical degree. You have to be very comfortable with numbers. So we have maths, statistics, probability, financial principles, and economic principles. So you have to be very comfortable with numbers. And actuaries are very comfortable with numbers because, believe it or not, most people are not comfortable dealing with numbers. So actuaries have to talk about a technical item to a non-technical audience. So you have to explain a complex issue to people that do not have the same understanding as you. So actuaries have to really understand what they're doing to be able to talk about it in layman's terms to people that don't understand or have the same level of knowledge. So the entry grades for actuarial science, dependent on your background. So we have IB requirements, which is 36 to 37 overall, including 3 6s at higher level. Or going by the national high school curriculum, students can undertake our foundation program in our INTO process within Queen's. Or people with an A-level background, it's 1 A star and 2 A's at A-level, or 3 A's at A-level plus an additional A at AS. So what that means is, if people undertook 4 subjects at AS level, got an A in one of the subjects and dropped it and focused on the final 3, they only need 3 A's. If you only ever did 3 A levels, it's 1 A star and 2 A's. The only subject that we require within our program is mathematics. We don't have any requirement for further maths. We don't have any requirements for economics, accounting. Mathematics is the critical thing for our degree.
Ya orangnya nggak bisa lihat mami kan?
As I've already said, maths is one of the critical elements of our degree. So what content does our actuarial degree, or what material does our actuarial degree cover? So I'm giving you a breakdown of some of the modules, and I'll talk to some of these modules, give you context. So in first year, you're straight into actuarial principles. So in semester 1, you undertake financial reporting and analysis, which is an accounting-based module. You're introduced to statistics and you're introduced to economics. Semester 2, more statistics, more economics, and then you actually come to me in Actuarial Maths 1. And you're probably thinking, why am I undertaking accounting modules? Why am I undertaking economics modules? I don't want to be an accountant. I don't want to be an economist. Actuaries have to understand the principles of a balance sheet, because actuaries are experts on both sides of the balance sheet, assets and liabilities. So you need to understand the drivers of the balance sheet and the profit and loss account. That's where the accounting principles come in. Actuaries derive long-term assumptions, enable them to value their liabilities. So I've talked about a pension scheme that has a 40-year window, for example. You're projecting forward inflation, you're projecting forward salary increases. So you need to understand what drives inflation, what drives potential salary increases. That's where the economic principles come into place. And then in Actuarial Maths 1, you come to me for the first core actuarial module. So one of the key things I want you to understand, anything that says actuarial or risk in the title only has the actuarial students in that class and only is taught by actuaries. So Actuarial Maths 1 is taught by me. I taught Mark in his first year that module. He loved it. And he'll wax lyrical about it, I'm sure. And then also, one of the key things that we have changed in the degree over the last number of years, we have started to engage the first year students with the placement team. So you start thinking about your CV, what content you're going to include in your CV, and also what kind of areas are you thinking of moving into for placement. So now moving on to year 2, we have semester 1, you have Excel and VBA, you have financial risk modelling with one of the other actuaries, and you have Actuarial Maths 2 with me again. And then semester 2, you have principles of actuarial modelling, placement learning, actuarial methods in general insurance, and investment analysis. So you will see of the 7 modules that you see there, 3 of them are actuarial based and 1 is risk based. So they are core actuarial modules, only undertaken by actuaries and only taught by an actuary. So you're probably wondering, why are we doing Excel and VBA and why are we doing financial risk modelling? We engage with our employers, both our placement employers and our graduate employers, every 2 years, and we ask for feedback on our students. So about 5 years ago, we asked for feedback on our students, and the employers said that the Excel skills of the students weren't where they should be. So we developed Excel and VBA. So then 3 years ago, we engaged with the profession and said, Excel skills are there, but we need to develop the modeling skills, building models within Excel. There's one thing being able to organize data in Excel, it's being able to build a model. So we developed financial risk modeling. And that's taught by my colleague, Mark Farrell. Then you have me in Actuarial Maths 2, where I'm giving you the basic actuarial building blocks that will enable you to go on placement. I've mentioned placement a number of times. So placement is a big part of our degree, and it's a unique selling point of our degree. Students undertake a high quality and salaried placement within their 3rd year. Normally placements are a minimum of 9 months, but typically they're 12-month placements. Students work as a trainee actually for 12 months. So I want to emphasize this. Students are not going out to photocopy and make tea. You are working as a key part of a team, and you're earning exceptional experience in an actuarial environment. Our students have great exposure to a huge amount of projects, processes, and systems, and they're exposed to actuaries at different stages of their career. So you could be working with a recent graduate, a newly qualified actuary, or an extremely experienced actuary. Examples of our placements include Score Re, Aviva, Irish Life, Kerr Henderson, AXA, Mercer, and Deloitte. So our placements are a mixture of insurance companies. So that's the likes of Aviva, which is a global insurance company. We have Irish Life, which is a huge insurance company in Dublin. Kerr Henderson and Mercer and Deloitte, which are consultancies. You may have already heard of Deloitte as one of the big accountancy firms. And AXA is another insurance company. So our placements are based in Dublin, Belfast, and London. And we've also had students in Hong Kong, we've had students in Boston, and we've had students in Vancouver in Canada as well. So we have huge opportunities for our students, and our students earn exceptional placements, and they earn exceptional experience as well within that placement. So these are some declarations we received from our students. So I'll leave this slide up just for a few seconds so you can have a bit of a read. But a lot of our students get a huge experience out of their placements. A lot of the time, students develop great links with their colleagues, and they start developing their professional network as well. It's important that students go out and develop a professional network, because then you can start bouncing ideas off their prospective or current colleagues as well. One of the key things that I've noted, because I teach the actuarial students in 1st year, 2nd year, and 4th year, the students that I see in 2nd year and then the corresponding student that I see when they come back from placement in 4th year are completely different. The student coming off their placement is a lot more professional. They're a lot more focused on their objectives. So they're focusing on their degree classification, they're focusing on their exemptions, and they're focusing on the bigger picture, which is moving into the professional environment. Then we have students coming back in final year, where they undertake actuarial applications, financial or actuarial econometrics, actuarial modeling, stochastic processes, and capital markets. So one thing you will note, there are no options in our actuarial degree. Our actuarial course is structured specifically to mirror the actuarial exams. And I'll talk about those in a couple of slides. So it's a very structured degree. There's a lot of overlap with some of the finance students, but there's a lot of modules. So for example, actuarial applications, there's actuarial modeling and stochastic process are subjects that only the actuarial students will undertake. So again, there's a lot of focus on what the actuarial students will develop. You benefit from small classes. The actuarial class is only around about 40 to 50 students. Normally in finance, there's over 100. So when you're in the actuarial class, you get to know your lecturers and the lecturers get to know you, and you benefit from that small class teaching. So we'll give you a bit more information on qualifying as an actuary. So the Actuarial Science degree in Queen's has an accreditation agreement with the Institute and Faculty of Actuaries. To qualify as a fellow of the Institute and Faculty of Actuaries, you have to pass 13 professional exams. We have an agreement with the Institute and Faculty of Actuaries, which is the UK actuarial profession, for students to earn the opportunity to be exempt from the first 6 actuarial exams. So we have CB1 and 2, CM1 and 2, and CS1 and 2. So CB1 and 2 would be the accounting and economics modules, CM1 and 2 would be the actuarial mathematics modules, and CS1 and 2 would be statistical modules. So to put it another way, students have the opportunity to come out of our actuarial degree with just under half the exams required to qualify as an actuary. To earn those 6 exemptions, students must earn an average of 65 or over across all 3 teaching years and also their placement assessment. So if you earn an average of 65 or above, you're automatically eligible for those 6 exemptions. Students who do not attain the 65 average may be able to go on a subject by subject basis where their modules that they perform very well in may map directly to a subject and they may earn between 0 and 5 exemptions. We normally have a high proportion of students who attain all exemptions. We're very lucky that we have exceptional students who understand what we're trying to achieve. We're trying to enable them to obtain a degree and also obtain their exemptions. So what are your options after your degree in actuarial science and risk management in Queen's? So you may be able to enter a paid position and continue to qualify as an actuary, and within 3 or 4 years possibly qualify as a fellow of the Institute and Faculty of Actuaries. We've also had students who have moved into risk management, so they're using their actuarial skill set in a slightly different, wider fields environment. Or we've had students who continue in education and study our MSc in finance and risk and investment management. So is this degree for you? So one of the things you would have to consider, are you interested and motivated about mathematics? Are you expected to do very well in mathematics without any problems? Maths is one of the core elements of our degree. Do you want a career where your numeracy skills are highly regarded and used every day? Put it another way, do you want to be rewarded for you taking advantage of your particular skill set? I'm extremely numerate. I wanted to be client facing, so I was a consulting actuary. So I just exploit my skill set. So do you want to avail and exploit your current skill set? And do you want a highly regarded career with excellent employment prospects that is financially rewarding? Actuaries are handsomely rewarded. Actuaries demand because very few people have the skill set that we have. So why would you choose Queen's Actuarial Science? I've already talked about our placement year. Huge students get placed within the first couple of weeks of second year. So we normally have 100% placement rate, and that is because our students are so in demand. Our students go out on 12-month placements. There's very few universities undertake a 12-month placement. So our students are hugely in demand. And now that we've had a number of actuarial students that are starting to qualify as fellows, they are banging the Queen's drum as well. They're pushing their employers to take on Queen's students as well. We also have the opportunity for students to attain exemptions from the first 6 actuarial exams. Other key features of our degree, Queen's have invested a huge amount of money in the university, but they've also invested in their degrees. Queen's have employed 3 qualified actuaries to teach, of which I am one. There's 2 other actuaries, Mark Farrell and Gillian McMahon, who are all fellows at the Institute and Faculty of Actuaries. One of the key things that we try to install in our students is that you have to engage with industry. We have a local Society of Northern Ireland Actuaries, of which a second-year student and a final-year student sits on the committee with me. I am the Queen's rep, and I bring 2 students along to every meeting, and they are able to disseminate the information from the meetings to their peers in their class. We also have a huge amount of engagement with local actuaries and actuaries further afield, whereby we have guest lectures giving expert insight into particular issues. So for example, we have today an actuary that's going to talk to our students regarding quantitative methods in data science. So we have opportunities for students to gain direct insight into what's going on in the real world. So the next few slides are just really about Belfast and Northern Ireland in general. So Belfast is based in Northern Ireland, which is part of the UK. It's a safe and friendly city and has the lowest cost of living in the UK. It's a very small city, as well. Queens itself is based in South Belfast, which is a very leafy area. It's a very nice traditional area. But the city centre itself is actually quite small and it's easy to navigate and move around. We have stunning landscapes. So this is the north coast. So this is up in Antrim. So you may have heard of things such as the Giant's Causeway, and this is Carricker Reid Bridge as well. So we're blessed with beautiful landscapes as well. If anybody has watched TV over the last number of years, Game of Thrones is one of the biggest TV shows.
Hello.
And a lot of it was filmed in Northern Ireland as well. So we now have a short video that I'm going to play.
Can you repeat? Can you repeat? Hello.
So it's a very impressive video and it's always good to see Queens from a different perspective. So for more information about Actuarial Science and Risk Management degree, I encourage you to visit the Queen's Management School website. So even if you Google, or if you drop that into your browser, or if you just Google Queen's Management School, and you'll see the Actuarial Science and Risk Management degree within that site. For more information as an actuary in the UK, you can look at the Actuarial Professions website, which is www.actuaries.org.uk, and that will give you complete information about qualifying process in the UK. So there's a very flattering picture of me. So if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to get in contact. There's my email address, n.mcconville@qub.ac, or you can go through the Ask AHSS email address. Queen's is very active on social media, so we have a Twitter and Facebook account, and you can also find us on LinkedIn as well. So that's pretty much it from me. So just really want to know if there's any particular questions. So I'll pull up the chat. I think there's quite a few questions.
Yes, so it's a Q&A session, Snail. Let me say some questions to you. So from Fanya, she's an IB diploma student, but her courses was Math, English A, and Physics XL. So her Physics was actually SL5, and Economics is SL7. So still I will not be able to meet the entry requirements. Are there any exceptions for the entry requirements?
To be honest with you, it's probably better that you get engaged with the international admissions team. A lot of the admissions queries are dealt with there. They don't actually come to us in the management school. As such, we get a lot of questions about admissions, and we get a lot of questions about personal statements, for example. And a lot of that there is fielded by the admissions team. So I would much rather that the student got the best advice as opposed to myself guessing. I think it's better if you go to the international admissions team, they would certainly give you a better insight.
All right. So, Fanya, maybe after this, I'll share my emails to you. Then we can communicate later. So I'm based in Jakarta. So we can communicate later regarding your entry requirements. Okay. The next question, Snail. Are there any other aspect that must be mastered to become actuaries apart from mathematics? Thank you.
Very good question. So mathematics is the basis of everything that we do. You have to understand principles of statistics, because we apply statistical processes, but we're not statisticians. You have to understand economic principles, but we're not economists. And you have to understand accounting principles, but we're not accountants. So you don't have to master them, but you have to understand the basic principles. So I mentioned accounting. Actuaries are experts on both sides of the balance sheet. So what that means is we're experts in assets and liabilities. You have to understand what drives assets and liabilities. It's the same way for economics. If we're driving long-term assumptions that maybe 30 or 40-year time windows, you have to understand what factors influence inflation. You don't have to master them, but you have to understand that there may be additional drivers. So math is the critical thing, but being able to bring in that more rounded financial services professional environment is certainly very useful.
Okay, perfect. So another questions again, Nell, is from Christian. After we graduate from Bachelor of Science in Actuarial Science and Risk Management, do we automatically become a professional actuaries since there are 6 subjects accredited by IFOA?
Right, that's a very good question. So to qualify as a fellow of the Institute and Faculty of Actuaries, so my designation is FIA. I have done all the exams. You would have to undertake 13 professional exams. The actuarial profession for undergraduate degrees will normally only give accreditation exemptions for the first 6 subjects. So if you come out with 6 subjects, if you were to undertake another 4 professional exams, you would be at what's known as the associate level. So you'd be associate of the Institute and Faculty of Actuaries, and you can call yourself an actuary. It's only someone who wants to go on to specialise and be a fellow does the last 3. So to put it another way, the 6 subjects accredited by the Institute and Faculty of Actuaries will bring you half, about 50% of the way through the qualification process. If you only want to be a generalist actuary, which is an associate, you only have to do 4 exams. So that would be another 1.5 years, 2 years study.
All right. So I hope, Christian, that answers your questions. And then another question from Grace. Hi, sir. If I want to learn more about investment, what major suits me best? Actuary or actuarial science or finance? Now, I think you are muted.
Yeah, there you go. Can you hear me okay now?
Yes.
Okay, so actuarial science and the actuarial science and risk management degree is quite focused. So we're focused primarily on protection and quantifying risk. If you want to learn a more general understanding of investment, then the Queen's Finance degree would give you a more rounded understanding of investments. Actuaries understand investments as well, but we are more into the protection and quantification of risk environment. So investment is a part of it, but not as much as the finance degree. I know that because I did the finance degree a long time ago.
All right. And then another question just coming in from Cecilia. Sir, how long did it take you to pass all the fellow exams? Will exams be a lifelong thing?
No, I just look, I have 4 young children. That's why I look so old. No, so I did the finance degree. So I came out with 1 exemption. When I originally started qualifying, it was originally 15 exams to qualify. So I had 1 exemption. So it took me just over 8 years to qualify as an actuary. So I had to pretty much go through all the exams bar 1. Somebody coming out with the actuarial degree would come out with roughly 6 exams. So there's only another 7 exams to qualify. The rule of thumb is that people will on average pass 2 exams per year when you're working. So I'm talking about when you're working and studying at the same time. It's intense working and studying, but everybody in your environment is doing it. The rough rule of thumb is 2 exams per year. So it took me about 8 years, but I was pretty much going through all the exams because I didn't do an actuarial degree. I did a finance degree primarily because there's no actuarial degree in Belfast at the time.
All right. So is it 8 years, including your bachelor's degree and master's degree as well? Yeah.
No, it was in addition. So I did the finance degree. I came out with one exemption, and then I took a trainee actuary job in Dublin and ultimately in Belfast as well. So I worked and studied at the same time. The actuarial exams are professional exams that are administered by the Institute and Faculty of Actuaries, which is the UK actuarial profession. So effectively what you do is you study, and at the same time, the thing is you study in your own time. There's no real classes as such. It's not like accountancy where you go to night school, or it's literally teach yourself. In fact, I'm going to scare you. They give you a file this thick.
Wow.
And you teach yourself. So these are some of my notes for the classes that I teach on the graduate, but that's effectively what you receive. You receive that in the post and you teach yourself the course. But the satisfaction of qualifying as a fellow in the Institute and Faculty of Actuaries it's unfounded. It's amazing. I qualified I think it was like 4 days before Christmas. I had the best Christmas ever. It was a long time ago, but I can still remember it.
Wow. So, okay. So I think I have another questions from Philippus. Sir, should we learn a few international languages while learning actuary?
Well, it's a global qualification.
Neil, I think you're muted. Neil, I think you're muted. Sorry, can you unmute?
There you go. Can you hear me okay now?
Yes, yes. Perfect.
It seems to automatically mute me for them. Maybe I'm talking too much. There's no requirement to learn international languages. Most of you guys are going to be multilingual anyway. It depends where you intend to work in the long term. If you intend to work in the UK, Australia, US, then obviously English is paramount. But it depends where you're going to work. If anything, the languages that I would encourage you to learn are computer languages. An actuary who can code is going to be a very useful person in the next 15, 20 years. Okay. So not languages in the traditional sense, but computer languages would certainly be a big help. So an actuary who can code can do very well.
Okay, perfect. So I think I have another question, but it's further for the tuition fee. This is from Mahes. So Mahes, for the tuition fee, I can send you the list after this for the tuition fee for next year. Yes, or you can contact EduBridge as well. So I think because we still have any student testimonial from Mark. So if you have any further questions, please feel free to put it on the chat box so Neil can answer your questions. But I think we can start with the student testimonial first. Martin, would that be okay?
Yes, hi, Yudika. Yes. Maybe
Okay,
we can start with students testimonial, yeah?
All right. So without further ado, I would like to introduce you to one of our great students. His name is Mark Sumadi. Hi, Mark. So he's currently in Belfast right now, and he's just finishing the placement year. So maybe Mark can share a bit of experience about his placement, the step-by-steps, and also his tips and tricks while studying actuarial science. So Mark, the stage is yours.
Okay, thanks, Eureka. So hi, everyone. I'm Mark. I'm starting my 4th year in actuarial science in Queen's University, Belfast. The main reason why I chose to come study actuarial science at Queen's is because the title of the degree is called Actuarial Science and Risk Management. So it would it's like more of like a well-rounded degree course with its content. And also that it also has a compulsory placement year, so that you'll have, by the time you graduate, you'll have like at least a year's worth of industry experience. And as well as that, it also offers like the maximum number of exemptions that any UK university has to offer with the IFOA exams. So over the first 2 years, year 1 and year 2, as Neil mentioned, you get exposed to learning the different fields that an actuary has. needs to learn with regards to math, statistics, accounting, finance, economics. And they also prepare you in the placement modules. So they help you with prepping up your CV. They also have interview questions, and you can also book mock interviews with the career consultants in the placement office. I recently just finished my placement year. I did my placement in Mercer, which is a pensions company in Belfast. I think it's a very good experience since you apply what you've learned in the classroom in actual work. So over the first 2 years in actuarial maths with Neil, we have these group projects where we value pensions, and and what you do. And during my placement in Mercer is we did like a larger scale of it. So instead of just valuing a small group of members, we're valuing all the employees for a certain company. Besides valuing pensions, I was also involved with the accounting team within Mercer. So you sort of like do the balance sheets and stuff for pensions, liabilities, and their assets. And I'm just coming back now, starting my 3rd week and final year. And it's sort of like very helpful since I feel that doing placement year sort of prepares me, and you get to learn like what an actuary really is on the job. And you also get like since you work as like a employee, you use like Excel every day over there. So when you come back to uni and you do like their modules that involves Excel and modeling, and it really helps and you preparing you in terms of final year. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, Mark. Maybe can you also share a bit about living in Belfast and how like why you choose like Queen's, and also like how do you find studying in Queen's and in Belfast, like the living costs or maybe the accommodations? Maybe you can share a bit to students. Yeah.
I chose to live in to study in Belfast. So aside from like the degree stuff, it also has like one of the cheapest cost of living. So like accommodation and like shopping and like food and stuff. So I'm currently living in student accommodation right now in city center, which is very close to, which is basically in the city center. So whenever you want to do your groceries, your shopping is literally like right there. So I've been in Belfast for 3 years, and it's very safe. It's a very friendly city. Everyone is very open to meet and like be friends with. And also in terms of currently with the pandemic, and it's not a very dense city as like other parts of the UK. So I would say it's sort of safer. Yeah.
Even more safer than in Indonesia, yeah, Mark.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So maybe guys, if you have any questions to Mark, please feel free to put it in the chat box, or maybe if you want to say something to Mark, maybe like directly, you can also speak to Mark. I think we just doing Q&A right now. Or Martin, do you have any questions to Mark, or maybe anyone?
Hi, Mark. I have a question. Do you find is it easy to get an internship, like a professional internship for actuarial science?
Okay, so I would say it's quite it wasn't hard. The placement office within the management school is very, very helpful. So like I said, like they help with like your CV, they have like a list of past interview questions. So you could just like rehearse yourself, and then once you're like ready, you could go book a mock interview, and then they'll give you feedback on both your CV and your interviews. And for actuarial science, the placement office has been working with a lot of like companies. So they have like a list of like companies you could do your placement in. So what I essentially did when I applied for placement was I just told the placement office I wanted to do my placement in Mercer, and then they just sent my CV to them directly. And then like a few days later, I was notified I had an interview with Mercer directly. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Within 3 weeks. Oh, wow. Okay. So I can tell that it's not hard for you. Yeah. It's quite easy, yeah, for Mark. Yeah. Okay. Is there any question? Maybe you can ask Mark. And then Oh, you now, Mark, you are still in Belfast. You're not coming back to Indonesia.
No. So I finished my placement was supposed to be 12 months, but since I was staying over the summer in Belfast, I decided to extend my placement. So I did like a 15-month placement. Yeah.
15-month placement. Wow. Yeah. Wow. Because like a lot of people like say that during the pandemic, is it affect the career in actress as an actress? Is it will affected by the pandemic? What do you think?
Well, during when the pandemic hit, like when lockdown started in the UK in March, we started working from home. So everyone had like a laptop to bring home every day. So working from home wasn't like a big adjustment. So you just like started working from home, and then like you had these like daily meetings every day. But there were still work since because for pensions, you had to do valuations at like every 3 years, and like they're supposed to do like these stuff by regulation. So I'm not sure. Maybe Neil has more insight to offer.
Yeah. And there's a question, Yurika, there's a question. Mark, are there many Indonesian students there? How about the Indonesian community?
Okay, there's this PPI in Belfast. So PPI is like the Indonesian Student Society. I think there's about 40, 50 Indonesians in Belfast right now.
Actually,
So
sorry, Mark. Actually, the total will be around 65 students
65.
in Belfast right now. Yes, but maybe some of them they don't join PPI, Mark. They say maybe you
Oh.
5. Yes, but actually there are about 65, and then yes, and then this year actually we received a lot of kind of popularity in terms of actual science and finance. So definitely getting more Indonesians at Queens right now.
Oh, okay, that's good to hear.
Yes. All right, Neil, it's okay. Thank you so much, Neil, for your.
Yeah, thank you so much for your time, Neil.
Thank you so much, Neil.
Okay.
Stay safe in Belfast.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, Mark, Kenny was asking how's the living cost in Belfast. I think you already explained. Like, maybe you can share like how much a meal that you can, spend like in Junction, because I know like buying in Junction is really cheap, and maybe for grocery shopping, like how much it costs for you to do grocery shopping a week. Yeah.
Yes, because everybody have a mindset that UK is really, really, really extremely expensive based on their pound sterling currency, right? But menurutku, ya banyak orang kira mahal banget, ya kan? Karena pound sterlingnya tinggi. What do you think?
Well, for a meal out, I would say in Belfast, maybe you could spend like 8 to 10 pounds a meal. And then for groceries, I normally spend about 30 to 40 a week. So if you cook at home every day, it isn't that expensive. I mean, if you do eat out every day, it's gonna add up every day. Like I find myself like my food expenses is the highest when I live in the UK. Yeah, but it isn't as expensive as you would imagine. Yeah.
Yeah. Jadi overall like a month, if groceries about 120 to 140.
Yeah, you could say 150 to 200 ya.
Ya, ya sekitar 2 jutaan lah ya per bulan untuk kalau kalian masak. Jadi emang di Inggris itu kalau masak itu mungkin harga grocery-nya tuh mirip sama Jakarta. Malah susu maybe milk is cheaper than Indonesia.
Oh, milk and bread is way cheaper.
Yeah, milk, bread, cheese is really cheap. Yes. Ya. Oke. Lalu kemudian sorry Fanya, Mr. McConville sudah cabut. Nanti bisa lanjutin lagi sama kita kalau mau tanya ya. Ada pertanyaan lagi untuk Mark, mungkin mau tanya Mark, setelah lulus ini mungkin kamu ada mau lanjut master atau mau kerja dulu di mana gitu?
Planningnya saya cari kerja dulu ya. As like you find a graduate job and then like as you work and then you can do the more exams. So you study and work at the same time. So it's like you get qualified and also you get experience like faster, you know.
Oke, terus ada pertanyaan juga nih, soalnya kan memang contoh aja di Mark ya, ada beberapa negara mereka lebih memprioritaskan lokal student daripada international student, ya. Nah, kalau kamu selama di Inggris ini, menurut kamu nih ada pertanyaan Cecilia juga, international student to get the placement, is it hard or not?
Well, for actuarial science, like the management school, the placement office, they really prioritize the actuarial science students to get a placement. I would say they would prioritize the actuarial science to get placement more than the finance students. And like in my year, all the international, there was like 4 international students and they all get a placement. 3 in Belfast, 1 in Dublin. And I would say it isn't that hard for actuarial science to get placement in Queens, yeah, if you study in Queens, because the placement office really helps you.
Yeah, I heard that they have now they have 6 student, I mean the service, yeah, 6 people, yeah, 6 person to help you now.
6 career placement, yeah.
Yeah, career placement. Yes,
okay.
They have
it's like getting more
now. Yes.
Yes, Mark. So they're getting more.
Ya, ya. Jadi kalau kalian di UK itu placement itu untuk international student, setahu saya tidak ada diskriminasi atau pembedaan kalau di Inggris. Ya, jadi memang biasanya biasanya mereka ya lokal dan internasional itu semua equal. It depends on which major menurut saya. Kalau actuarial biasanya memang easy, apalagi kalau kalian GPA-nya aku dengar ya 2.1 ya, jadi kayak 3,0 ke atas itu easy banget. Malah ada student yang bilang kalau GPA-nya 3,5 ke atas, somehow you can choose the company. I don't know whether it's right or not. Which is your friend Marco saying the same thing. Marco in Raffles. Marco Di Baio. Yes, yeah.
Oh, Marco, he's in Dublin.
Yeah. Also in Ireland lah something. Ya, dia bilang juga 3,5 ke atas itu you can choose company. Ya, seperti itu. Jadi don't worry ya, Cecil. Terus aku mau tanya lagi nih, baca ada anak yang this is kind of silly question sih. Kalau di negara lain somehow industrial placement itu kayak magang itu nggak digaji. Kalau di Inggris itu digaji atau enggak sih?
Digaji.
Digaji ya. Kalau di negara lain itu nggak digaji soalnya. Ada beberapa negara yang digaji. Aku nggak usah sebutin deh. Jadi di negara-negara tertentu kayak negara Commonwealth itu nggak digaji untuk placement, industrial placement. Kalau di Inggris digaji ya?
Yeah, you have to get paid, yeah.
Itu pasti ya, nggak mungkin nggak digaji kan?
Pasti, yeah. When you apply for the actuarial science degree, your visa is like your tier 4 visa. It's like it's already includes your placement year, so you're allowed to work as for during the placement, yeah, and it's salaried, yeah. It just depends which city you're in, lah. If you're say in London, then it's like your salary is higher than if you do your placement in Belfast or something like that, yeah.
Great.
Mungkin Mark boleh sharing nggak, Mark? Kamu dapat gaji berapa, Mark?
Waduh.
Placement.
Kalau Belfast saya dapatnya setahun 14,300. 14,300, yeah.
14, okay.
Yeah. But I know other companies, they do in Belfast, like they get 15,000, 16,000. Yeah.
Okay.
Just depends which company you get.
Itu juga lumayan gede karena di Belfast itu kan biaya hidupnya affordable ya.
Ya, betul.
Sangat affordable. Jadi jangan compare ke negara lain yang biaya hidupnya ternyata extremely high. Ya, kalau di Belfast itu affordable somehow, even the living cost ya grocery apa itu similar with Jakarta ya. Jadi itu udah quite high lah untuk yang baru magang-magang ya. Okay. Ada yang pertanyaan nih, Mark, what convinced you to choose actuary as major? Karena kan kamu pilihnya kan kamu kayak 3-4 tahun yang lalu ya, which is jujur aja Mark, kita EduBridge, kita udah ngomong actuary itu 5 tahun yang lalu. Nobody know. What is actuarial? No, I don't want to study that major. Nah, kenapa kamu bisa pilih itu gitu loh?
Because I like maths lah, but I didn't want to study maths, like pure maths at uni, and then become like a maths like lecturer or something like that. So, and then like I had this economics teacher in secondary school, and she was like, "Oh, Mark, you should become an actuary." And that's where I was introduced what an actuary was like back then. Then it just hit me when I was applying for uni, like that there was a degree for actuarial science where you could do maths and then like you could apply like in a business context, you know. So and it's more specialized than just doing finance.
Yeah.
That's why what made me do actuarial science. Yeah.
Ya, itu yang seperti aku juga ngomong, banyak juga anak bilang, aku mau kuliah applied math deh. Terus saya bilang, kamu udah matematika tinggi gini, ngapain applied math? Kamu langsung aja yang fokus ke actuarial. Apalagi actuary itu ada papers, professional exam papers, yang bisa menentukan kamu punya posisi, dan jelas kamu path-nya kemana aja. Ya, memang sih, saya juga ngomongnya sama seperti yang kamu baru ngomong. Ya. Oke. Ada tinggal 2 menit lagi, mungkin ada pertanyaan lagi sebelum kita lanjutkan introduction mengenai Queen's University Belfast dengan Kak Yudika. Karena Mark, I know he is very busy. And then thank you for your time ya.
No worries, happy to help.
Kita arrange ini udah berbulan-bulan sebelumnya soalnya.
I think this is the first time, right? Like Queen's, like there's like a lecturer come and talk about actuarial science.
Yes, and it's really,
like
really
amazing.
difficult. Yeah, we need a long time to arrange it in advance. Yeah. Okay.
Mark, there's a question from Grace. Apa sih yang diajarin di actuarial dan pekerjaannya apa bisa untuk kerja sendiri?
Kerja sendiri as in like start your own company?
Yeah, maybe like starting up your company.
Or whatever, yeah.
So like it was on the slides earlier, but during the actuarial science degree, you learn like a lot of different fields, you know, different parts of maths and like business. And traditionally, actuaries work in pensions, investment, and insurance. Mostly insurance and pensions, though. I'm not too sure if you could start your own business. Maybe you can, but I'm not too sure. My plan is to like get employed in a big company so that your work experience is like covered, and then maybe in the future become like an independent consultant, you know.
Yeah. Or maybe mungkin Grace, kamu bisa gini, karena actuaries itu kan kalau kamu menjadi fellow of actuaries itu yang papersnya udah banyak, udah menjadi actuary kan, salary-mu gede ya menurut saya ya kan per bulannya, termasuk di Indonesia ya kan. Itu kalau saya biasa saraninnya kamu sudah dapat salary, setahu saya sih ya minimum tuh bisa 180 ke 400 juta per bulan, tergantung di Indonesia ya, tergantung kalian itu berapa papers. Nah itu setahu saya kalau kamu gaji udah segitu, kalian kan udah pintar matematika ngitung-ngitung, kalian bisa ngeliat orang ada investasi apa, itu juga bisa kan, kamu still keep your kerjaan kamu di perusahaan-perusahaan itu, tapi uangnya juga bisa kamu melihat investasi apa yang ada prospek. Itu juga sebenarnya is a good things menurutku sih gitu. Daripada instead of kamu do your own job, hasilnya belum ada dan lain-lain, dan kamu mesti benar-benar put a lot of effort on it like 2, 3, 4, 5 years ya kan. Ya, jadi yang menurutku adalah yang itulah bisnisnya secara smart lah menurutku. Ya.
Terus ada lagi nih pertanyaan Mark dari Cecilia. Kok susah nggak ngertiin aksen lecturers di sana?
Pas mulai sih agak susah dimengertiin sih ya. The Northern Irish accent is quite they speak quickly and then it's like they're dancing, you know, when they speak.
Yeah.
But you sort of get used to it lah, and then most of the lectures, like some of them, they're not like from local, so like they're from mainland England or somewhere. So not all of them have like the accent.
Tapi mungkin aku bisa masukkan juga Cecilia. That's why kenapa kita selalu bilang kalau if you wanna do the foundation, memang lebih bagus kamu foundationnya langsung di negara tersebut, karena foundation itu bukan cuma penyetaran nilai, tapi juga somehow foundation itu juga akan mempelajari language-nya, the English academic dan local language, local slang dan lain-lain ya kan. Somehow kan guru kalian berbagai macam tempat ya kan. Kalau kamu tahu local slang, kamu akan ada ya itu juga ya. British accent, Kenny Ang, default accent lecture, British accent.
No, not really. Northern Irish, yeah.
It's a Northern Irish accent. It's not a British accent. British accent itu macam-macam. Kenny ada posh accent, ada Geordie accent, ada Scottish accent, ada Northern Ireland Irish accent, ada South Irish accent, even South Irish accent ada di macam-macam. Jadi memang kalau di Inggris itu kalian akan ketemu berbagai macam accent. Kalian jangan menganggap ini sebagai negatif menurut saya. Justru anggap ini sebagai positif. Karena begitu kalian kerja secara internationally, kalian akan ketemu berbagai macam accent. Malah kalau kamu paham accent-accent yang kalian tidak pernah dengar, somehow itu bisa menjadi ajang ya menurutku ya, ajang untuk kamu mencari link dan koneksi dan mendekati orang itu. I know this accent. ya kan? Jadi mereka akan merasa, oh, they know my accent, ya kan? Dari home country aku. Jadi kita bisa lebih dekat. Siapa tahu bos kamu dari Northern Irish, well, ya kan? Itu salah satu cara melobi menurutku. Jadi kamu nggak usah pusing dengan Northern Irish. 3 bulan menurut saya semua 2 bulan 3 bulan udah terbiasa ya.
Harusnya ya.
Iya, biasa anak-anak 1-2 bulan udah fine semua murid-murid kita. Udah ngerti. Oke. Lanjut lagi, Yudika ada pertanyaan tuh dari Grace.
Oke, Grace, boleh tahu kuliah sampai lulus berapa tahun dan total biaya? Oke, ini aku jawab aja ya, secara aku yang bagian rekrutmen. Jadi total programnya itu 4 tahun. Jadi 2 tahun pertama kalian kuliah, tahun ketiga kalian magang. Tadi yang kayak Mark. Setelah magang di tahun ketiga, abis itu kalian balik lagi ke kampus doing final year. Jadi the total is 4 years, tapi orang tua kalian itu hanya bayar uang sekolah 3 tahun aja. Kenapa? Karena pas placement year itu kalian nggak bayar uang sekolah. Masih akan ada placement year fee, karena kamu akan masih ada kontak sama akademik, jadi masih ada bayar placement fee, itu sekitar kayak 825 pound kurang lebih selama setahun itu. Jadi masih reasonable banget. Untuk uang sekolah, untuk tahun depan, itu kita di angka sekitar 17.400, let me check, yes. 17.400 ini untuk yang tahun depan. Dan kita ada beasiswa potongan itu 2.500 untuk international students, dan juga ada early bird reward, itu potongan 10% dari net fee setelah scholarship. Mungkin aku bisa sharing ini ke kalian. Kak, bisa nggak kayak mau lulus cepat 3 tahun? Programnya sendiri udah 4 tahun, Tracy, tapi karena itu include sama magang, jadi memang itu kamu harus ambil magang, karena memang buat cari pengalaman juga sih, gitu. Jadi memang harus 4 tahun total programnya. And then, siapa lagi tadi ini Lilis, yang gagal actuary kira-kira berapa persen? Yang gagal nerusin atau pindah jurusan? Katanya harus placement tahun ketiga ya. Oke. Maybe Mark, do you have any experience of your, friends were failed in your classes, or there's no students failed at all?
I think from my first year, then starting second year, I think a few people were missing. I think like 2 or 3 people were missing after first year. But I'm not sure where they went. Like one of them changed course to medicine, which is quite a big jump.
Okay.
Yeah, and then like others, I'm not sure. But yeah, not a lot of people drop out though. So like it stays constant. Like the classes like between 40 to 50 students in the class. Yeah.
Yes, agree.
Mungkin aku bisa tambahin ya.
Ya, boleh
karena
Martin.
ini, Hai Lilis, karena mungkin kalau di Inggris untuk apalagi Queen's University Belfast untuk masuk ke aktuaria itu requirement awal dari high school kalian tuh mesti udah tinggi sekali. Jadi dia make sure pas kamu masuk di year 1 itu kamu akan sukses terus sampai akhir kamu lulus. Jadi kamu udah paham itu ya. Ada uni-uni lain yang mereka mungkin requirement-nya agak slightly lower. Jadi uni lain ya, aku lagi ngomong uni lain. Jadi begitu masuk kelihatannya gampang, tapi begitu kalian kuliah di sana, ternyata nggak bisa cop the lesson. Tapi kalau di Queen's Belfast biasanya dia memang udah ada standarnya. Kalau dengan standar ini kamu masuk, biasanya kamu akan bisa ngikutin pelajarannya. Itu yang setahu aku sih, gitu.
Oke.
Ya.
Apakah setiap student, ini ada lagi pertanyaan dari Ling, sorry. Apakah setiap student pasti mendapatkan placement di tahun ketiga atau ada persyaratan nilai atau papers yang harus dicapai? Nah, mungkin aku serahin ke Mark ya, karena aku tahu so far tadi dari slides-nya Neil juga, so far actual science itu kita sudah, kayaknya udah 2 tahun atau 3 tahun berturut itu 100% placement. Jadi semua murid kita itu semua dapat. Mungkin Mark juga bisa explain ya, Mark, bener ya Mark ya, 100% ya Mark?
In my year, everybody got a placement, yeah.
Yes, so everyone's got a placement, ya. Jadi nggak usah khawatir. Tidak ada persyaratan atau papers, yang penting kalian ikutin proses pencarian kalian kerjanya itu, doing interviews sebagai layaknya kalian cari kerja gitu. Oke? So I think we have to mungkin ada teman-teman nanti abis ini bisa stay back. Aku akan menjelasin kayak kalau ada yang mau nanya soal Belfast seperti apa, atau Northern Ireland seperti apa, Queen seperti apa, I will more than happy untuk share informasi juga. Tapi aku mau ngucapin terima kasih banget buat Mark for your time and for sharing the sessions. Aku senang kamu sehat-sehat di sana. Nanti kita ketemu lagi di Belfast ya, Mark.
Of course.
Ketemu di Belfast ya, Mark.
Yes, and Gemma also. Thank you so much, Gemma, for conducting.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, so Gemma is from our faculty. Jadi after this teman-teman kalau memang ada yang mau nanya-nanya sama aku boleh stay di sini. Nanti kita bisa ngobrol lebih banyak soal beasiswa atau uang sekolah atau syarat masuknya seperti apa. Nanti aku akan bisa bantuin. Oke? Jadi kita say goodbye dulu sama Mark sama Gemma. Thank you so much Gemma and Mark.
Gemma, thank you so much Mark for your time. Please stay safe and see you next year.
You too. Hope to see everybody in Belfast or something.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you so much, Mark. Stay safe, Gemma. Stay safe.
Bye. Bye, Gemma.
Thank you. Bye. Oke, kita lanjut ya, teman-teman, untuk pertanyaan. Tadi ini ada beberapa yang masih nanya dari Grace. Ada yang harus ulang kelas 3 SMA untuk dapat. Iya, memang gitu, Grace. Jadi sistemnya gini, kalau di UK itu, jangan melihat foundation itu sebagai tambahan tahun, bukan. Karena kalau orang UK sendiri, itu mereka belajar itu 13 tahun. Kita di Indonesia itu belajar 12 tahun. Jadi memang kasarnya logikanya itu aku selalu ngeliat kalian tuh belajar kelas 13-nya kalian tuh di UK. Nah, tapi mereka namanya foundation. Nah, foundation itu juga menurut aku penting. Kenapa? Itu menurut aku adalah masa transisi kalian. Ketika kalian dari sini, kasarnya belajar di pendidikan Indo, terus kalian langsung masuk ke UK, kalian pasti akan ada culture shock-nya, kalian bingung ketemu akademiknya gimana. Nah, ini adalah menurut aku masa transisi yang baik. Kalau versi gampangnya itu, aku bilangnya itu soft landing di UK. Gitu. Jadi, foundation ini kelas 13, jadi kalian belajar 9 bulan aja di sana, habis itu baru progres ke tahun pertama di actual science. Gitu. Jadi, sama aja kayak anak-anak lokal di sana 13 tahun. Gitu.
Yes, betul. Jadi memang aku saranin memang kalau kamu mau foundation ke UK langsung di UK. Kan sekarang kan banyak ke foundation yang buka di Indonesia juga. Itu jadi anggap aja kalau saya bilang ke anak-anak ibarat kamu mau berenang di Samudra Pasifik, tapi kamu latihannya di kolam berenang. Bukan latihannya tiba-tiba kamu latihan di kolam berenang, kamu dicemplungin ke Samudra Pasifik, kamu akan kaget. Meskipun kamu bisa berenang. Iya, beda dengan kalau kamu mau berenang di Samudra Pasifik, kamu latihannya juga di Samudra Pasifik, tetapi ada pelatih trainer yang qualified. Itu akan berbeda sekali. Itu yang aku selalu ngomong ke anak-anak, gitu loh. Ya.
Oke. Nah, mungkin ada pertanyaan lagi buat aku.
Mungkin bisa mungkin apa ya, tadi udah terakhir udah ya, teman ada yang harus ngulang kelas 3 SMA untuk dapat. Oke, aku mau jelasin lagi. Tadi kan profesor siapa namanya aku lupa. Neil kan bilang dia dari jurusan finance, betul nggak? Ya, jadi anak-anak di sini mungkin tidak paham what is finance, ya. Kalau di Indonesia, kita ada jurusan ekonomik atau mungkin sekarang ada jurusan baru finance. Semua kamu mesti paham, di Indonesia itu finance itu adalah Bachelor of Art. Jadi ada finance itu ada dua, Bachelor of Art in Finance dan Bachelor of Science in Finance. Kalau yang tadi Neil itu adalah Bachelor of Science in Finance. Kamu mesti paham banget, bukan Bachelor of Art in Finance yang sudah kalian pahami. Jadi kayak finance itu mungkin di anak-anak Indonesia mungkin pikirnya finance itu pengaturan uang. No, it's not that. It's not that simple. Jadi Bachelor of Science in Finance itu unfortunately belum ada di Indonesia, Yudika. Ya, jadi kalau di Queen's University Belfast itself, finance itu dia adalah Bachelor of Science, semua dealing dengan matematika juga. Dan kalian ada namanya probability, VBA, Excel, dan lain-lain, dan kalian ini menghitung matematika gimana membuat 100 juta menjadi 1 miliar. How to do the investment, dan lain-lain. Itu Bachelor of Science in Finance. That's why finance-nya mereka bisa related dengan actuaries. Tapi kalau kalian finance yang Bachelor of Art in Finance, itu jangan harap kalian bisa ke actuaries. Tidak akan bisa. Dan banyak sekali yang salah jalan. Aku udah handle berpuluh-puluh anak Yor. Salah jalan. Dia bilang, aku finance kok, mesti bisa. No, kamu Bachelor of Art in Finance, selama 3 tahun, 4 tahun kuliah, kamu cuma dapat modul matematika 1 modul doang. Itu nggak akan bisa.
Iya, karena belajarnya beda juga. Yeah. Bachelor of Art dan Bachelor of Science belajarnya beda. Dan ini ada pertanyaan lagi dari Grace. Jadi lebih baik ke kelas 3 SMA langsung di UK ya? Iya, benar. Itu aku lebih saranin, benar. Karena kalian juga bisa ngerasain environment di sana, bisa beradaptasi juga. Jadi saran aku ambil foundation di sana. Karena selama foundation pun kalian itu bisa akses seluruh fasilitas university juga. Jadi kayak dari library, gymnya, segala macam kalian tuh bisa akses. Karena kalian hitungannya itu Queen students. Tapi memang kalian belajar kelas 13 dulu di sana. Gitu. Terus ini ada lagi pertanyaan dari private ke aku, kapan pembukaan pendaftarannya? Pendaftarannya sebenarnya sudah buka untuk tahun depan. Tapi kalau tergantung kalian dari nasional atau internasional. Kalau dari internasional, kalian nanti bisa apply dibantu sama EduBridge through UCAS. UCAS itu deadline-nya 15 Januari. Oke. Kalau untuk yang nasional itu dari sekarang udah buka gitu. Jadi bisa tinggal kontak EduBridge di masing-masing kontak di kantor di daerahnya kalian. Nanti mungkin habis ini bisa sharing ya alamat kantornya EduBridge dan nomor teleponnya. Jadi kalian bisa reach out langsung ke mereka. Gitu.
Yes, betul. UCAS udah mulai buka kok, Yur. Udah mulai
tapi
Cuman
deadline pertama 15 Januari sebenarnya untuk most majors ya.
Yes, 15 Januari itu close toh.
Iya deadline-nya, deadline-nya.
Jadi 15 Januari udah close ya untuk direct entry yang dari A-level dan IB. Ya. Bagaimana proses mendapatkan student visa? Vincent, Dennis, kamu nggak usah pusing. EduBridge akan membantu kalian 100% free of charge. Ya, kamu tinggal bayar uang visanya aja. Nanti student visa kita yang bantu kalian 100%. Vincent, Dennis nggak usah khawatir. Oke? Ya. Gampang. Pokoknya easy kalau dari EduBridge. Ya. Oke. Itu juga ada tambahan lagi.
Oke, Grace bisa info total untuk 4 tahun dan biaya hidup. Oke. Untuk biaya sebenarnya untuk yang kita tahun depan itu uang sekolahnya di angka 17.400 yang tadi aku bilang. I might share my screen to you guys to make it easier. Oke, so I share my screen. Ini based on tuition fee untuk tahun depan ya. Jadi kalian lihat yang di kotak sebelah kiri karena hitungannya classroom. Jadi tuition fee-nya 17.400 untuk tahun depan. Scholarship 2.500 potongan dan early bird itu potongan 10% sekarang dari net fee. Jadi udah bukan dari gross fee lagi ya, Tin. Jadi sekarang udah dari net fee, jadi dipotong segitu. Jadi total tahun pertama kalian bisa dapat potongan hampir kurang lebih 4.000. Jadi dari 17.000 jadi cuma tinggal 13.000 pound untuk tahun pertama. Nah, untuk tahun kedua, setiap tahun itu biasanya kita ada kenaikan sekitar 2% dari university. Jadi kalian bisa hitung-hitung sendiri, total ini dikalikan 3 tahun kurang lebih ya. Nah, untuk living cost sebenarnya aku selalu bilang dari angka 500 pound itu cukup sebenarnya untuk makan dan tempat tinggal. Karena untuk makan sendiri kalau memang kalian misalnya kayak aku pribadi pernah ke sana, aku pernah makan di kayak kantin kampusnya gitu, itu kalian bisa dapat kayak 2 for 5. Jadi kalau kalian ngantri sama temen berdua bisa dapat 5 pound untuk 2 meals. Kalau sendiri kalian bisa dapat kayak sekitar 3 pound per meal, which is murah banget. Di kalian kalau mau makan, ya itu 5-7 pound kurang lebih. Jadi tergantung sebenarnya boros nggaknya kalian itu sebenarnya dari makanan. Kalau kayak aku tau kayak tadi Mark, karena aku pernah ke akomodasi dia emang stok makanan banyak banget karena dia suka makan. Jadi mungkin dia agak sedikit over sedikit untuk makanannya. Tapi kalau memang yang standarnya sebenarnya itu aku selalu bilang 500-800 pound tuh cukup gitu. Karena living cost tempat tinggal kita juga nggak gitu mahal kok. Gitu untuk accommodation range kita itu dari angka 75 pound sampai 130 pound per minggu. Jadi masih reasonable banget gitu.
Bisa part-time nggak, Yurika?
Boleh, dia kalau mau part-time job boleh, tapi di level university ya. Jadi jangan pas foundation, aku nggak rekomend kalian part-time pas foundations. You can do part-time jobs. Let me share this. Bentar ya, aku ada listnya untuk why study di UK. Jadi kalian itu bisa ambil part-time 20 jam per minggu. Atau kalau lagi libur boleh 40 jam per minggu. Jadi ini sistemnya. Jadi kalau di UK itu yang tadi aku bilang yang di bawah, kalian bisa kerja sambil kuliah. Biasanya sekarang yang lagi ramai kayak Mark tadi itu, mungkin tadi Mark lupa sharing, dia itu dulu pernah jadi student ambassador-nya kita untuk Indonesia. Jadi dia tuh kerja di kampus gitu ya. Nah, gajinya biasanya lumayan lebih besar, jujur, wage-nya, dibanding kalau kalian kerja kayak jadi di restoran atau di Starbucks atau jadi barista gitu ya. Biasanya kerja di dalam kampus biasanya slightly lebih besar gajinya karena dibayar langsung sama university, dan kalian bisa coba tuh jadi kayak student ambassador. Jadi student ambassador itu sebenarnya it's very fun job actually. Kalian itu akan di briefingin dari university, kayak misalnya nih Ko Martin atau Ci Christine dari EduBridge misalnya ada yang mau datang ke UK, dia mau visit Queens. Nanti dari situ kalian sebagai student ambassador, kalian yang akan nemenin mereka jalan-jalan keliling kampus, keliling akomodasi, terus sharing your experience kayak tadi Mark seperti itu. Jadi dan itu kita bayar kalian, dan itu tipe kasarnya kerjaan part time lah kalau aku bilang gitu. Jadi selama kalian bisa manage your time accordingly, kalian nggak ganggu belajaran kalian, feel free untuk doing part time, itu boleh banget. Gajinya biasanya tergantung lihatnya dari umur. Jadi kalau misalnya kalian sudah sekitar 17 tahunan, 18 tahunan, itu sekitar kurang lebih seingat aku sekitar 7,8 pound per jam kurang lebih. Jadi lumayan banget. Itu yang off campus. Kalau yang on campus kayak tadi Mark gitu-gitu, kalau jadi student ambassador itu bisa dapat 9 sampai 10 pound per jam. Jadi lumayan lah buat uang jajan ya, gitu.
Bisa cover tempat tinggal ya. Kalau kamu ngirit bisa cover living cost kayak si Dennis itu,
Iya, Dennis juga banyak kerja.
Cost semua dia dari part time.
Gitu. Sebenarnya tergantung dari kalian sih. Kayak student aku yang tadi Dennis itu dia udah ambil sertifikat barista di Indonesia dulu. Jadi dia di sana itu udah gampang. Dia tinggal apply kerja jadi barista karena dia udah punya skills-nya kan gitu. Jadi kalau memang kalian mau coba-coba kayak gitu boleh banget. Tapi yang penting dulu kan education-nya dulu ya. Jadi jangan udah kasarnya udah enak nih part time gitu ya. Jangan fokus ke part time. Yang fokusnya ke sekolah dulu. Part time itu hanya untuk kalian dapetin pocket money lah kalau aku bilangnya gitu.
Yes.
Terus Yur, kalau placement bayar nggak uang sekolahnya? Pasti
Placement
kan banyak yang kalau pas lagi placement bayar uang sekolah.
Enggak, placement nggak bayar uang sekolah. Jadi kalian itu hanya bayar biaya placement fee karena kan kalian masih akan tetap dikontak sama akademik. Jadi kita tetap harus bayar profesor dari university. Jadi kalian bayar itu sekitar ingat aku 825 pound aja selama setahun kalian magang itu. Tapi kalian nggak bayar uang sekolah. Aku tahu beberapa university itu mereka charge-nya lumayan besar buat placement, tapi kalau Queens enggak. Itu kita sekitar 825 pound, jadi menurut aku masih oke banget. Dan kalian kan dapat gaji. Biasanya sih gaji, ya tadi Mark bilang, Mark dapat 14.300, itu udah dipotong pajak. Jadi biasanya total kotornya dia berarti sekitar 16 ribuan.
16 ribuan, betul. Itu standar ya. Jadi
itu standar sih.
Jadi kalau kamu tahu, jadi di UK itu ada negara lain yang placement-nya itu nggak digaji, Yur. Ada juga yang placement-nya digaji, tapi kamu bayar uang sekolah full.
Yes.
Dan kalau di UK itu, kamu placement itu mostly nggak bayar uang sekolah, cuman ada biaya placement. Nah, kebetulan Queen's Belfast ini biaya placement-nya rendah banget, cuma 830 berapa? 140 pounds. 825 pounds ya. Jadi you can jadi itu salah satu benefit-nya lah menurut saya sih gitu.
Ya rasanya di Indonesia sendiri pun kalau placement nggak dibayar deh.
Iya, di Indo nggak. Oh, di sana tuh enak banget karena gimana Tim?
Ya, gimana?
Nggak, karena menurut aku kayak Mark gitu, dia dibayar kan 16.000 terus dipotong pajak segala macam kan 14.000. 14.000 itu dia tinggal setahun di sana tuh udah kayak sultan.
Ya.
Karena benar-benar murah kan tinggal di Belfast. Jadi dia bisa save a lot sih. Orang mamanya juga bilang kok, dia nggak minta uang jajan 1 sen pun selama dia magang. Karena dia benar-benar udah bisa hidup sendiri ketika dia magang gitu, which is oke banget gitu.
Jadi mesti tahu bahwa magang profesional itu yang kita bilang sandwich atau placement year, itu dia harus kerja di perusahaan top yang berhubungan dengan jurusan kuliahnya. Jadi nggak boleh misalnya kayak tadi Mark Actuarial Science, tapi placement-nya itu di marketing. Itu tidak boleh. Ya. Jadi harus 1 tahun di perusahaan yang berhubungan dengan actuarial untuk menaikkan portfolio. Nah, beda lagi dengan kalau kalian lagi liburan musim panas. Liburan musim panas itu kan kalian boleh kerja 40 jam seminggu. Kalian boleh namanya magang. Magang di summer holiday. Magang summer holiday itu boleh kayak kamu dibantuin sekolah, atau marketing, atau macam-macam. Atau juga kamu bisa di coffee shop, atau itu bukan magang, itu berarti part-time. Ya terserah, opsional. Tapi kalau dibilang placement, industrial placement, professional placement, itu harus di perusahaan yang berhubungan dengan jurusan kuliah kalian, sehingga nanti begitu kalian sebelum lulus kayak Mark tadi, mereka sebenarnya dia nggak mau ngomong aja ya, dia dapat penghargaan dari dari mana? Dari KPMG atau apa gitu, saya lupa. Jadi dia bisa dia dapat link dan koneksi dan lain-lain. Jadi begitu dia lulus, dia udah dapat kerjaannya gampang. Seperti itu. Ya.
Benar, gitu. Mungkin ada pertanyaan lain untuk teman-teman?
Kalau tidak ada pertanyaan lain, mungkin Yurika ada mau sampaikan lagi atau mungkin kita sudah selesai?
Mungkin itu sama, mungkin nanti aku bisa sharing kontak aku juga ke kalian. Sebentar ya, aku masukin kontak aku ke chat box di sini juga. Jadi kalian bisa kontak EduBridge karena mereka memang partner kami, partner official kami di Indonesia yang memang membantu dari segi aplikasi kalian sampai visa itu semua mereka beresin free of charge. Kasih tau aku kalau mereka minta duit, nanti aku bisa omelin. Tapi mereka nggak boleh charge uang apapun. Jadi kalian bayar visa itu langsung ke tim visa, kalian bayar uang sekolah langsung ke university. Jadi Edu ini benar-benar pure akan bantuin kalian dari dokumen aplikasi sampai visa, oke? Nah, nanti kalau kalian ada pertanyaan soal Queens atau soal actual science atau Belfast seperti apa sih, kuliah QK seperti apa sih, nanti bisa kontak aku. Ini nanti aku share di sini aja nih, kontak aku ada di sini.
Hai Yurika.
Hai.
Kamu bisa tolong bantu jawab itu pertanyaan saya yang mengenai IBHL itu? Karena saya punya concern. Kalau dia cuma melihat HL-nya, tidak melihat mata pelajarannya, berarti kalau ngambilnya cuma art, kemudian ngambil yang HL-nya yang kayak bahasa Indonesia A gitu, untuk dapat nilai 6 kan lebih mudah daripada untuk ambil fisik, ambil math, ambil bahasa Inggris. Apakah itu tidak ada concern mengenai hal itu? Karena
ini, Pak.
aneh juga kalau dia cuma mention yang HL harus 666. Itu aja sih concern saya.
Oke, thank you ya Pak atas pertanyaan.
Terima kasih.
Ya, jadi kalau untuk requirement sendiri sebenarnya kalau IB, karena kan kita minta lumayan tinggi Pak, minta IB-nya. Jadi kita minta minimum 3 subjek yang HL minimum 666. Tapi jujur kalau kayak language itu pasti nggak akan dihitung Pak sama admission kita. Jadi biasanya yang dihitung itu pasti kalau misalnya anaknya ambil science atau ambil sosial misalnya gitu. Tapi kalau memang dia ujung-ujungnya sudah mau actual science, matematik itu sudah harus ada. Terus yang kedua, kalau memang dia suka maths, biasanya pasti student akan ambil lagi further maths, which is sebenarnya Neil dia nggak yang kasih rekomendasi harus ambil further maths, nggak. Boleh ambil, boleh nggak, Pak, bebas. Tapi setidaknya harus ada maths, gitu. Jadi, kalau maths 1, fisik 1, ekonomik 1, itu udah boleh, nggak masalah, Pak. Tapi kalau 1 maths, 1 English, 1 bahasa, itu English sama bahasa itu nggak akan dilihat, jujur. Gitu. Karena biasanya kalau dari school counselors-nya pun pasti mereka nggak akan advise ambil bahasa dua-duanya. Biasanya gitu sih, Pak. Jadi at least ada 2 science, 1 sosial misalnya gitu. Itu masih boleh. Gitu.
Tapi untuk yang ini tadi I have math, English and English A and physics SL. Sorry, ini yang HL-nya apa ya? Math, English and physics ya? Itu
yang HL-nya math, English sama fisik.
Oke.
Nah, standar levelnya chemistry, ekonomi sama bahasa Jerman.
Oke.
Itu masalahnya anaknya pilih itu karena dulu dia belum tahu dan kebanyakan requirement kalau seperti di Kanada atau di Germany itu dia selalu minta harus ada 1 science untuk semua jurusan engineering. Jadi anaknya ambil safe side-nya aja. Jadi dia ambil math, kemudian English A dan fisik supaya mudah untuk apply kemana aja. Tapi kalau kemudian requirement-nya ditentukan 666, ya cukup tough juga gitu. Sebenarnya posisi sekarang sih untuk math sama Inggrisnya sih 7, tapi fisiknya di angka 5 gitu. Tapi kalau 666 kan 5 tetap tidak cukup kan?
Ya, biasanya sih gini sih Pak, saya selalu, biasanya kan karena kalau actual science itu kan jujur kita tuh punya kuota Pak setiap tahun. Jadi memang it's very kompetitif kalau menurut saya untuk actual science. Kenapa kita ada kuota? Karena kita mau make sure semua student itu dapat placement program dan memang mereka punya kontak sama akademik itu cukup Pak. Makanya kita nggak ngoyo punya 200 student sih kita nggak mau. Kita tahun ini aja rencana seingat aku lumayan over sih, kayak sekitar 60-an seingat aku tahun ini juga. Karena lumayan over popularity-nya actual science. Tapi Biasanya kalau nanti itu aku coba cek dulu ke admission, Pak, kalau ada satu subjek yang 5, biasanya itu ada 2 cara. Yang pertama yang saya saranin, untuk backup plan, ambil yang foundation, kalau memang nilainya belum masuk. Yang kedua, Bapak apply dulu pakai UCAS, nggak apa-apa. Nanti kita coba untuk ke clearing.
Yes.
Clearing itu, kalau misalnya ada seat yang masih available di actuarial science, kita akan lowering down our entry requirement, Pak, pas masa-masa clearing itu. Jujur saya nggak bisa guarantee, saya nggak tahu ada clearing apa nggak. Tahun ini sih kita ada clearing untuk actuarial science, masih ada beberapa seat available, jadi mereka turunin entry requirements. Tapi nanti aku bisa coba cek lagi, Pak, ke admission. Nanti mungkin Bapak bisa privately chat aku, email anaknya, nanti aku bisa infoin ke anaknya atau ke Bapak kalau aku udah dapat jawaban dari admissions.
Yes.
Boleh ya, Pak? Nanti bisa WhatsApp aku atau email aku. Ini tadi aku barusan share di chat.
Oke, makasih Ibu Yurika.
Ya, makasih banyak, Pak. Gitu. Mungkin ada pertanyaan yang lain untuk teman-teman?
Aku baca dulu, siapa tahu ada yang miss. Tadi ada yang miss soalnya.
Iya.
Banyak banget soal pertanyaannya.
Takutnya ada yang miss.
Oh, ada. Hi, Mr. McConfield. Actually, my further question is, do we need to take a master degree or we just take the other paper from IFOA? Tadi dari Fanya juga ya. Fanya, jadi kalau total papersnya kan ada 13 tuh untuk menjadi fellow of actuaries kan. Jadi benar-benar yang gajinya udah selangit banget itu ya. Yang aku tahu bisa 400-500 juta belum bonusnya per bulan itu gajinya.
Iya, emang gede banget, dia udah bisa hit semuanya, udah pasti gede banget gajinya.
Memang kalau di negara manapun, universitas yang tertinggi, paling tinggi akreditasinya di S1 itu memang 6 papers. Dulu 8, sekarang jadi 6. Karena dulunya papersnya, professional papers itu dulu 15 yang tadi si McConfield bilang, ya kan? Jadi dijadiin 13. Jadi terus S1-nya dulu 8 jadi 6, ya kan? Jadi paling tinggi 6. Nah, 6 itu kamu kalau misalnya nilainya bagus, kamu bisa dapat 6 automatically. Kalau di negara lain somehow kamu mesti ujian di luar itu. Nah, automatically kalau nilai kamu bagus 6, nanti kamu bisa tinggal kerja. Kerja. Kalau kamu misal kerja terus kamu do examination di luar, ya sebenarnya bisa sih dapat 13. Itu katanya bisa 7-8 tahun ya tadi ya prosesnya.
Iya, karena dia ambil finance kan, jadi dia nggak dapat exemption sih, Neil.
Ya, betul. Dia nggak dapat exemption yang tadi, Neil. Tapi kalau kalian misalnya nilai kalian bagus kayak tadi Mark, I believe Mark itu dapat exemption-nya tinggi tuh.
Pasti ya.
Full exemption itu begitu lulus. Karena aku dapat bocoran dari si Marco, teman baiknya.
Ya. Si Mark itu first class student kita kok.
Kenapa?
Si Mark itu first class ya.
Actually, I believe that Mark itu tinggal pilih. Maka dia bilang kan, I pilih Mercer. Dia pilih company, bukan company yang pilih dia. Karena kayak student, teman baiknya juga sama. Dia bilang, saya pilih perusahaan. Jadi ada 10-15 perusahaan list, dia yang pilih sendiri. Bukan perusahaan yang milih dia. Nah itu jadi nanti dari situ, kalian udah 6 papers, kalian bisa ujian di luar. Kalau emang kamu nggak mau ambil master lagi, however, you can do it yourself. Based on your working experience sebenarnya. Ya kan, nanti dari ability-nya kamu bisa ambil sampai 13 fellow itu bisa tanpa master boleh. Cuman kalau master pun, kalian bisa ambil master 1 tahun, biasanya bisa dapat tambahan 3 papers. Atau nggak kamu bisa ambil risk management di Queen's Belfast masternya. Risk management itu nanti ada accreditation professional exemption lagi yang berbeda. Kalau kamu di Queen's Belfast itu dia, ingat ya, actuarial science itu jurusannya ada macam-macam. Ada yang mathematics with actuarials. Ya kan? Ada juga yang actuarial studies. Actuarial studies itu akan berbeda dengan actuarial science. Dia punya kurikulumnya. Yang kalian mesti ingat adalah ada stokastik. Stokastik itu yang penting banget. Kalau di Belfast itu ada stokastik. Ya. Dan ada data science ya di 3 tahun terakhir itu ada kamu akan belajar data science. Ya, jadi kamu bisa cover semuanya. Oke. Jadi depends. Kamu mau master atau 3 terserah. Yang penting kalau kamu dapat...
Nah, ini ada yang nanya beasiswa nih. Ini aku sharing screen lagi deh ya. Tadi pernah nanya beasiswa. Jadi ini list beberapa beasiswa yang kita punya. Ini yang pertama, kita ada namanya Fast Candidate Scholarship. Ini beasiswa untuk direct entry ya, teman-teman. Jadi untuk yang foundation nanti bisa cek lagi sama EduBridge. Mereka juga punya scholarship, tapi skimnya berbeda. Oke? Nah, ini yang scholarship dari university. Jadi yang pertama itu kita punya yang namanya Fast Candidate Scholarship. Ini 50% scholarship for whole durations of your study. Kita ada slot untuk 4 students. Jadi memang is very competitive. Terms and conditions kita belum updated karena memang masih untuk tahun depan. Jadi hopefully nanti kita bisa infokan sekitar tahun depan untuk syarat-syaratnya seperti apa. Tapi kita punya ini yang paling tinggi. Jadi kalau kalian dapat potongan ini 50% sampai 4 tahun kalian kuliah. Jadi kalian hanya bayar 50% setiap tahun. Oke. Nah, kalau misalnya ini nggak dapat, kalian nggak usah khawatir. Kita masih ada namanya International Office Undergraduate Scholarships. Ini once kalian accept offer, ini automatically kalian akan dapat scholarship ini. Jadi kalian nggak usah khawatir. Program scholarship ini berlaku untuk semua major kecuali yang tadi medicine, dentistry, teologi, research learning, which is kalau actual science sudah pasti bisa. Jadi kalian dapat potongan itu 2.500 untuk di tahun pertama. Oke, nah selain scholarship ini kita juga punya namanya early bird reward. Early bird reward ini sama aja kalau kayak teman-teman misalnya kalian beli tiket konser di Jakarta misalnya atau di Indonesia kan, kalau misalnya kalian bayar lebih cepat kan akan dapat early bird kan, sama kayak Queens. Jadi kalau kalian bayar 90% dari fees-nya kalian sebelum stipulated deadline yang kita tentukan, which is tahun lalu itu sekitar bulan Juni deadline-nya, kalian akan dapat additional 10% dari net fees-nya setelah dipotong scholarship. Oke. Jadi seperti yang tadi, jadi tuition fee, potong scholarship, potong early bird, jadi total cuma tinggal 13.000 aja. Jadi once kalian accept offer-nya di UCAS, kalian automatically akan dapat potongan scholarship. Oke? Tapi nanti early bird reward kita akan infokan deadline-nya kapan untuk tahun depan. Jadi tahun lalu sih sekitar Juni kurang lebih. Jadi hopefully sekitar bulan segituan juga sih gitu. Oke? That's for the scholarships. Mungkin ada pertanyaan lain?
Atau mungkin waktunya sudah lewat 30 menit nih.
Iya. Apa? Nah, thank you banget Martin. Dan ini aku udah sharing juga kontak aku juga buat teman-teman sekalian. Again, kalau untuk masukin aplikasi dan segala macam, kontak EduBridge ya. Karena aku nggak bisa bantuin aplikasi. Jadi yang masukin aplikasi harus dari EduBridge. Kalian nggak usah khawatir. Mereka udah well trained banget. Mereka udah ngerti banget soal UCAS dan segala macam. Kalian don't worry. Nanti kalau kalian ada pertanyaan soal kayak Queens atau Belfast, feel free reach out to me. Nanti aku bisa bantuin kalian. Oke? So, thank you banget Martin, Christine, and all the team, Henry. Semuanya thank you banget. Hopefully udah lumayan jelas soal actual science.
Yes, thank you banget Yudika for your
dan
time.
gajinya.
Dan terima kasih semuanya yang udah datang ke acaranya ya. Jadi kalau kalian mau tahu lebih lanjut lagi, kalian bisa kontak EduBridge terdekat kalian. Kita ada di Kelapa Gading, Kebun Jeruk di Pondok Indah, yang di Jakarta, kemudian ada di Semarang, ada EduBridge Surabaya di PTC Pakuwon seberangnya. Terus ada juga EduBridge Manado dan EduBridge Pontianak. Kalian bisa tanya lebih detail lagi. Kalau emang butuh informasi lebih lanjut lagi, kita bisa arrange ketemu lagi dengan Cici yang manis ini, Cici Yudika.
Asik. Boleh banget. Stay safe ya, semuanya sehat-sehat ya.
Oke, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you semuanya.
Bye-bye.
Martin, Vincent, Christine, Henry, thank you semuanya. Bye.
Bye.